Hi guys. Um, we're live. Just a heads up, there is a storm, so it's possible we'll lose power. Anyway, so this is Tangent Tuesday, and welcome to Fighting Words, the martial arts library. Tonight I'm going to be talking about two of the most valuable lessons, most important lessons that I've learned through my journey in the world of martial arts. So, way back when I was a wee little martial artist, my parents enrolled me in karate, but that did not stop my insatiable need to absorb all the martial arts ever. So I would go into the school libraries and public libraries and bookstores, and I find the martial arts books and flip through them, sit there and read them all day. And back then, one of the things that I noticed was a lot of the similarities across the different styles. The more I, I observed of this, the more it became apparent to me that the human body can only move so many ways, but also that there are underlying threads to the movements in martial arts, to the technical side of things. So that first important lesson was to understand that even if a style is not the style that I'm doing, there's something there that I can probably relate to. There's something there that has value. And I can use as a starting point to examine other martial arts. And one of the best examples here, I think, is the round kick or roundhouse kick. So, the textbook version of you know karate's mawashi geri, of Jeet Kune Do's hook kick, of Savat's fouette, of Muay Thai's whatever the name for that move is in Muay Thai. Um, they are different in many nuanced ways, and in some cases, some very important ways. But fundamentally, when you break it all down, they all have the same root movements. And sometimes the question will come up like, what is the best such and such? All right, so let's stick with the round kick. What's the best round kick to use? It depends on what I'm using it for. And it can depend on other factors, like what my target is. It can depend on, if I'm throwing it as part of a combination, where it comes in during that combination. For instance, if I'm throwing it at the end of a combination, it's probably going to be a big power shot. So it's probably going to have a lot of hip commitment in it. So it might more resemble the Muay Thai style of round kick. But even then, I can make certain adjustments and draw from the knowledge of the other things that I've studied. If I go for that full commitment kick, but the guy's too far away to hit with the shin, which is how the Muay Thai style typically goes, I might choose to target the body with the ball of the foot, which was what I originally learned in karate. So, by finding the commonalities between styles, the world sort of opens up for us. That's not to say that there's nothing new under the sun. I think that there are a few things new based on uh, rather novel rule sets that probably didn't exist historically, based on modern equipment that we have. Uh, One thing, for instance, is that thanks to gloved striking arts, now we can strike continuously with our hands, whereas in the bare knuckle days that wasn't an option. So different strategies have evolved based on that. But yeah, so I guess that lesson is search for the commonalities in the techniques and strategies of the different styles, they're going to have more in common than they have different, you know, and using that as a base, using that as a foundation, then you can choose the best technique for that snapshot of time, you know, whatever is needed for that situation, you know, but you're not a slave to, well, this is how we do it in this style, and this is the only way to do it because I am biased and I think that this is the best. So, and along, you know, I can sort of use that as a segue. For me, the second notable lesson that I learned is training for specificity and how important that is. So, what do I mean by that? Basically, if you are preparing for a specific situation, your training should be designed to sort of funnel you to success in that situation. For instance, I think it may ruffle some feathers, but you know, take mixed martial arts for instance. It is possible to use almost any martial art in mixed martial arts. However, it needs to be trained specifically for that environment, and that includes, you know, in some instances, altering techniques or eliminating some things from your training process. There are certain conditioning uh, values that need to be taken into account. You know, we are training for, at a professional level, 3 or 5 5-minute rounds. So if you're used to 2-minute rounds, that's not going to help you in that environment. Similarly, if we take a look at, you know, self-defense situations, we have to take a look at what are referred to as the habitual acts of violence. So, for instance, in the art of karate, a lot of attacks are performed out of a lunge punch. You're not going to find a lunge punch in a in a very common street scenario. The odds of encountering a lunge punch are incredibly small. You can go ahead and train that for the art. You know, we can at least allow that there may be certain benefits for understanding the technical side of the art. But if you're training for self-defense, you know, most encounters are going to happen at conversation range, usually within arm's reach. You know, you're not going to have time to, you know, step back into a deep stance or space in a lot of cases. So you're going to have to train for things like, you know, big haymakers, someone attaching with a grab and then following through with strikes, you know, headlocks, things like that. You know, it's not that the ways to deal with that are not within certain martial arts, but you may have to alter how you train what you're doing in order to fit that specific situation. And if we really want to go into deep dives, we can get into, you know, super minute and specific details. You know, if you are in a competitive environment and you know you're going to have to fight this one opponent, you know, 8 weeks from now, you can focus a lot of your training on preparing specifically for that person. You know, what are they good at? What has given them trouble in the past? You know, do they usually fade toward the end of the round? So maybe you train to put on a little bit more pressure at the end of the rounds. You know, in most environments, you're not going to have that option, but I'm just using this to point out how specific you can actually make your training. So yeah, those are my two biggest lessons. Um, some of these are probably old hat if you've been in martial arts long enough, but I would encourage people to look at martial arts as far as research and training through these lenses. And I think it may benefit you. And that's all I got. So thank you for watching, and I'll have a video out on Friday.